It's a Sunday morning, and that means it's time for Sports by the Book. Welcome into South Point Studio. I'm Matt Neverett, joined by my lovely co-host Alex White. And as we get to the end of the college basketball regular season, here we are. Just a handful of games today in the Big Ten and the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, wrapping up the regular season of college basketball. Alex, we have made it 1 week away from Selection Sunday, and it has flown by. This last week of games has seemed like it has been crazy and building on itself. There were more games yesterday around college basketball than on the first day of the NCAA tournament.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. But you're right, this week has been a lot of fun. Tournaments already starting for conferences. We have a lot of big ones coming up this week. Some weird outcomes yesterday going into these conference tournaments, right? Arizona goes down, a couple other upsets. Oh my gosh, North Carolina over Duke on the road. So it's going to get really interesting here this week. I can't wait for next Sunday. We have a busy day. And then we're doing some fun stuff here at the studio Monday and that week leading up to the tournament. So I'm really excited.
Denny Nagel's going to be in studio with Frank Nicotero on Punchlines. We'll have plenty of guests here on Sports by the Book. I'll be here Monday, Tuesday. Jeff Parles will be here the rest of the week as we get into the conference tournaments.
And the whole crew is going to be here for that Punchlines on Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be
big stuff.
It's like a reunion episode. It's like a crossover episode of a 90s sitcom here at South Point Studio. Leave us your live comments. Tell us who you like in these upcoming tournaments. So your national championship favorite. We're going to talk plenty of national championship odds throughout the show today as we roll things along, but wanted to get to these final games of the regular season around the NCAA. It's always been the case, the Big Ten doing this on the Sunday morning. I didn't realize until we started getting ready for the show that the American also had a couple of games on the Sunday, but it's only two. I mean, it is just weird scheduling. The Big Ten's got just about everybody playing except for two teams on a bye. But, yeah, two games in the AAC. I don't know what goes into that scheduling. Are they just trying to find a primetime open slot on a Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know either. Not the best games. I'm pretty interesting one here with SMU and UAB because both of them are playing for that 4 seed still. So that's a very meaningful game. But the Temple UTSA, I don't know about that one.
You want to open with SMU? Get into that game that starts at noon?
I don't have a play on it. Do you?
I don't have a play on it. UAB is one of the hottest teams in that region, and especially in that conference. So I would lean Blazers. It's also one of my favorite mascots just because it's so unique. The Blazers have been hot, kind of doing some different things than they normally do on the court. They're a little bit bigger and faster this year than they have been in years past. But as you mentioned, playing for that 4 seed, I think that angle, especially this time of year, becomes really important, and it's something that doesn't get bet on a lot. You don't really see as many people as you would, assume saying, hey, this team for that tournament needs to get to this seed, and all of a sudden they have a game where they can make that happen. I think that angle is not bet enough, and you see it time and time again really come into play here at this time of the schedule.
Well, it's really important to go through each conference and look at how their tournaments go because they're all so different, right? Majority of them do have 1 through 4 get a double bye, which is very crucial, and a lot of teams play very hard for that. So I agree with you. And then on the flip side, we've got revenge here with Alabama-Birmingham. SMU won the first one 72-69 at home. So I would lean to the home team here as well. Maybe you want to just avoid the point spread altogether and lay minus 125 here just for them to win outright. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think the home team is the right side here. Should be a really good matchup between these two. My number says a little bit to the over here at 154.5, but I think it's going to be more of a rock fight. Both of them pretty good defensively. SMU better defense than UAB, but I think we're going to see the Blazers' best effort today.
And a similar enough total in the other game in the AAC, Temple at UTSA. I got nothing on this one. Temple, not a team that I would like to put my financial backing behind, and UTSA playing at home, laying the 3. If I had to play it, that would be what I would do. The total's a little bit higher in this one at 154. Does your number suggest otherwise?
Yeah, actually, 148.5 here on the total, so I would lean a little bit to the under. I like Temple. I haven't bet it yet, but I think they should be about a pick 'em in this game. So I think you're getting value here with that +4, mainly because UTSA is just the worst defense in the conference. They are 335 in the nation on KenPom right now. So, yes, not very good defensively. I mean, Temple struggles offensively, but defense travels. So I think they can hang in this game, and you're getting value with the +4. They did win the first one at home, 83-77, so it was a close one, but I think Temple plus the points.
Value on the Owls, value on the under, according to Alex White. Let's get into these Big Ten games, because there's one of them that starts here in about 25 minutes, and it's one that you've got to play on. Nebraska laying 6 at Michigan. More of a play on Michigan being just horrendous, correct?
They have been very bad. They are 14 of 14 in the Big Ten this year. It's been a struggle. They are 184 adjusted defense efficiency in KenPom, and it's shown all year long. They are 2-10 against the spread in their last 10 games. Michigan, worst defense in the Big Ten, highest turnover percentage, last in paint points in the Big Ten. So a lot of reasons that I like Nebraska in this one. I know that they're better at home, but I don't think that matters too much in this one. They are also playing to keep their 4 seed in the Big Ten, 11-8 record right now. I'm totally fine with the 6. I saw some 5.5s out there last night, but I would play this up till about 7.
You've got to tell the viewers what the ticket writer said when you went and got the ticket on Nebraska.
So usually I do use my app, but I'm kind of trying a little rollover, where you win one and you take that and you just keep rolling it over. I'm starting now and seeing how it started Thursday or Wednesday when we were on. I went up and said the number, and her response was, "Oh, that's a very popular one today."
you sometimes you do want to hear that, sometimes you don't.
Correct.
That was it. So
I'm like, well, I know there's some sharp bettors here at South Point.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It made me feel okay.
That's what I love about the ticket writers here. They have a personality more so than a lot of other places where you go and get tickets.
Hey, you were a ticket writer for a while.
Absolutely.
You got personality.
Yeah. I was a rare bird in that realm compared to other ticket writers. While you were talking about that game, I was looking through KenPom. There are 2 teams in KenPom in the top 150 that have less than 10 wins. It is Mizzou, who has the second winless SEC conference schedule ever, and Michigan at 123 at 8-22. Both of those teams 8-22 in the regular season. Those, I would say, rankings, where they are in KenPom, it's got to be based off of their reputation, past results. Michigan, the 90th ranked offense, the 185th ranked defense, and I think both of those are too high.
I'd agree. I thought the exact same thing when I was looking at KenPom last night. I'm like, I don't think that number is right there.
Just looking at Missouri, 130th ranked offense, 189th ranked defense, and somehow they're 147th.
Mizzou did cover yesterday. They had a chance. I thought they might get their first conference win, but they didn't. Interesting, too, we were looking at the luck, and Mizzou, unluckiest teams, right?
362 out of 362. If you follow the luck metric on KenPom, that was surprising. I was surprised. I mean, I know they're bad. I know they're just horrendous this year, and Jeff has told us all year long just about how bad they are, but to be dead last in the luck factor?
Yeah, we got to dive into that more and see what that really entails. But I guess bad calls, ball not going your way.
Yeah,
right?
It's one of those things like in baseball, WAR, wins added. It's one of those stats that I like, that I use, but don't always 100% know the formula for it.
Right.
So that's we'll do a deep dive into luck. We'll tease that for tomorrow's show when we're on here from 3 to 4. Plenty of other games going on though around the Big Ten. Wisconsin at Purdue, and the total in this one is what interests me, Alex. This game starts at 9:30 here on the West Coast. Purdue 9.5-point favorite. I think that's warranted. 148 on the total. I think that's a little bit low for this Purdue team that's number 1 in adjusted offense on KenPom.
I completely agree. And you know what? If you look at Wisconsin, they're a lot better offensively than they are defensively. 18th adjusted offense efficiency, 61 defense. So I think we can get a lot of points in this one. I took the over already at 148. And actually, I think I got 147. Yes.
Oh, even better.
Yes. So, I like it. Badgers 19-11 to the over, 5 straight overs. We know Wisconsin has been struggling down the stretch, and I think that's more on their defense than anything. Purdue 20-10 to the over, 11-4 at home. We saw Houston yesterday. They won by 30 against Kansas. These 1 seeds are not letting up just because they've already clinched their conference. They are all still playing to their full potential. So I think we're going to get that from Purdue here, especially Wisconsin is 3rd right now in the Big Ten.
Interesting.
They had some wiggle room, I guess you could say, from their slow collapse there. But I think we'll get their best effort for sure today against this Purdue.
Literally, as you were explaining it, I just bet it. Over 147 here at South Point, right behind us. If you can zoom in, I got the bet loaded up. I am on the over in this one as well. It was 148 on the overnight, so we're actually getting a little bit of value. Action to the under, which I don't necessarily agree with in this game. I think this is a low number for this Purdue team overall.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, Purdue is 20th adjusted defense efficiency in KenPom. But yeah, I think that number is even a little inflated when you watch them play.
How much of that has to do with the play of Zach Edey down low? Because they do get beat on the outside from time to time.
Yes, you're right. I think it's probably a lot to do with that.
So we'll see. Hopefully he has a bad defensive day today, and we go over on the 147 in that game, 803, 804 on the rotation number. This is an interesting matchup, the next one that we're going to take a look at, and an interesting line. I don't know if this line is to the right side. 805, 806, Ohio State taking on the Scarlet Knights in Piscataway, taking on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Ohio State laying 1.5. Do you agree with this number?
Yes.
Okay, because in my mind, I would make Rutgers the favorite. You know, it's a fine line of a point here, point there, but I think Rutgers with a little bit of a home court advantage, Ohio State going through what they've gone through this year. I like Rutgers in this one. I don't have any action, but that's just a big-time lean on my end.
I thought the number was just right on the side. I was looking at the total myself, and I've been betting Rutgers unders because they are so good defensively. Mm-hmm. When we talk about, which here's a tease too, because tomorrow or Tuesday we're going to kind of do it blind, looking at their rankings and seeing if we can guess which team it is. Rutgers is going to be pretty easy to point out. 4th adjusted defense efficiency, 279th offense.
Oh, my God.
Right? So they are so good defensively. They've been a great under team all year long, but they're just not very good offensively. So I thought this number at 134.5 was a little bit, and now it's even 135, so people are betting that over. I know Ohio State has been through a lot, but they have done much better. So I don't know. It's a coin toss here, really.
That's the lowest total of the day in these Big Ten American games. So we're getting a low number. Alex likes it to go under.
I do.
Even with a little bit of a movement here in the early morning on a Sunday. Rolling things along at, let's see, what time is this one? 1:30, I should say. Michigan State at Indiana. Michigan State on the road laying the 4.5. It's tough to lay points like that with a team like Michigan State. I like it in this matchup. Indiana really struggling. Did you know, Alex, that Indiana, the only team right now in the Big Ten without a high school commitment for next year?
No.
They just lost a four-star guy from Indiana the other day. He was their only high school recruit in next year's class. So, yeah, right now Indiana doesn't have much of a future. As it stands right now, they're going to have to be heavy into the portal, into the JUCO ranks, and really trying to get some of these last-minute high school commitments. I think that angle can play into a late season matchup like this for players that, you know, maybe thinking about coming back next year, maybe half a foot in the transfer portal already for some of these guys. Michigan State too, sneaky darling in the KenPom ratings, as they always are. And what month is it? It's March. That's Izzo month. I like Michigan State in this one that starts at 1:30.
We're going to talk about some of your metrics that you're looking at going into the tournament, and I think Michigan State actually sneaks in there, right?
They're close.
Or just about.
They're just on the outside looking in.
Little teaser. Okay, so thinking about what you're saying about Indiana, I feel like the Big Ten in general is kind of struggling right now, and looking at all their numbers, especially when they're so isolated and they're the main focus today, very defensive oriented, right? And I think a lot of guys these days, they don't want that. They want to go out and play offense. They want to play for Kentucky. They want to play for Tennessee. They want to run, right? So it might be a little tougher for these defensive-minded coaches and institutes to recruit right now with the phase that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at KenPom right now for Michigan State. We were talking about the luck factor.
Yeah.
Mizzou dead last at 362. Shout out Jeff. How about Michigan State 302nd?
Wow.
And again, I don't really 100% know what all plays into that, but for Michigan State, you know, they've overcome a lot of bad luck. The other one as well, just looking, the strength of schedule, the opposing offenses they've played has been the 5th toughest slate in the country. So that bodes very well come tournament time. I like this Michigan State team regardless of what happens today. We'll talk a little bit of macro stuff coming up as far as national championship odds. I like this Michigan State team to potentially win a couple of tournament games.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Do you know where they are projected right now? What seed in the NCAA?
I can look it up here in about 5 seconds. Like I said, though, it is very tough to fade Michigan State this time of year. Tom Izzo always has his teams trending in the right direction. I think that we talked about it last week in the NBA as far as teams kind of trending in the right direction at the right time of the year. We're seeing that now with the Nuggets. Michigan State does that every single year because of their way that they're coached.
And, I mean, they're right now 11th in defense in the country. So I actually like this total under that 141.5. I thought it was a little bit high here. Indiana really not great offensively or defensively. 95th adjusted offense and 90 adjusted defense. And then we've got Michigan State, who likes to play slow, just 65 possessions per game. And then defensively, they cause their opponents to take 18.4 seconds. So I think they're going to slow this down and control the tempo in it. And I like the under in this one.
All right, fast fingers. Michigan State right now projected an 8 seed in the South region. If the tournament were today in these bracketology predictions were 100%, they'd be taking on Florida Atlantic in the 8-9 matchup, with the winner facing Houston or potentially South Dakota State if they were to pull the ultimate upset. But yeah, Michigan State, very, very scary team this time of year. And also the metrics we're going to talk about, I got a graphic made for it. The championship criteria, every national champion, I should say, since 2002 has had the same numbers, same order of numbers that we'll get to here shortly. But moving along in the Big Ten as we get through the final games of the regular season around college basketball, Illinois at Iowa. I think that this game has the potential to be one of the more exciting ones here at the end of the season. How about a 173-point total in this game?
It's moved up already, but I still like it over. I really do. You're right. One of the more exciting. These two teams both play fast. Two of the better offenses in the Big Ten. Illinois close to Purdue for one in this conference. Wow. Very close. And then these two are second and third in fast break points in the Big 12, and they take care of the ball. Third and fourth best turnover percentage. So I think we're going to see a lot of points in this one. I made it a lot higher than 172. So I like the over for sure. First game, Illinois won 95-85.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you're definitely getting some value on that total there.
And, I mean, I can't imagine it being played any other way, right? A lot of times when you see a high final like that, but there's some anomalies in there, then you kind of have to take that into consideration. It's how these two play. It's just their style.
What was the game? It was like 2 weeks ago. It was Alabama, somebody else, and we were worried about the total. And both teams ended up almost scoring 100 points. It was Alabama, Kentucky.
It was.
Like a week ago. And, they both ended up putting up 90 in that game. Do you have any thought on the side? Illinois laying a 1.5 on the road?
No.
This is
on the side.
This is a prototypical Alex White matchup here at the end of the season, because it's really tough to discern between these two teams as far as who's going to win the game. But we know there's points. You're great on totals. So this was one when we were getting ready for the show that just was screaming your name.
Yeah, I mean, I made it a pick, so that leans to Iowa a little bit, but I really want nothing to do with that. I mean, Illinois is number 12 in the country right now, right? So it's hard. Iowa's 7th right now in that conference, but
we just want points, baby.
Points,
baby.
Frank will like that one.
There you go. Yeah, that's a Frank Nicotero special if I ever saw one. We're going over on that high elevated total. But as Alex said, you're getting a little bit of value. She made the total even higher. And then the final game, probably the one that I'm the least interested in. I don't know a ton really about either of these teams or the trends. Penn State, point favorite at home against Maryland in a game that starts at 4:30. I will say, when we show our criteria and we talk about some of the teams on the outside looking in, Maryland is a surprisingly good defensive team in the national scale.
They are. They're just like Rutgers, right? Where you very good defensively, not so good offensively. So they are 7th right now in KenPom, 157th though offensively. So a little bit of a struggle, but I have nothing in this game. I think the numbers are both right. I made it a pick 'em, and right there on that total, just 140.5. So I lean a little bit to Maryland here. Defense travels. They have the far better defense. Penn State 101 right now in KenPom defensively. So, yeah, I would lean to Maryland, but no strong opinion for me either.
Same. I'm in the exact same boat, especially with some of the numbers that we're about to show you. Maryland, sneaky good this time of year, and if they can get into the tournament, they're a team that can win a tournament game, especially with that defense. You talk about defense traveling, even more so I've noticed on neutral courts, especially in March.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they don't have all their fans there, the home court advantage. So, yeah, it's a great point.
All right, we've teased it enough. Let's talk Ken Pom numbers, baby. So since 2002, and we'll get back into some individual game lines here in a moment, but since 2002, every national champion except for one has had two numbers going in their favor. An adjusted offense on Ken Pom of over 112 and an adjusted defense of 94 or less. Let's take a look. There are 5 teams right now that meet that criteria. These are 5 teams that I would strongly consider for a national championship bet right now. A couple of surprises. Houston at the top, not a surprise whatsoever.
No, really impressive win yesterday, especially they've been dealing with injuries and moving their lineup a little bit, and they go in there and win at home by 30. So no surprise there. And you've been adjusting these, right? You've been keeping track of this the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, these are updated as of yesterday.
No big movements, though, in the last 2 weeks.
Not at all. But, I mean, it's like any statistic. The more games you have in there, the less variance you're going to have game to game.
Correct.
Houston, North Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State. I would say the first 3 are expected. The last 2 a little surprising, especially Auburn. I mean, you've been on Iowa State. You've got that good ticket with a great number on them to win the national championship. But Auburn, surprising. They're 18-1 right now to win it all. 14th in adjusted offense, 5th in adjusted defense. They are very good, and not just locally in their conference, nationally. Compared to other teams, Auburn, really surprising this time of year. Well,
it's tough, right? They play in such a good conference, and you got Alabama, who's very good offensively, and then we've seen what Tennessee has done. So they've just kind of been sneaky good. Vinny's been talking about Auburn all year long, though, and now it's really starting to show up. But you know what? You said no surprises, but I am a little surprised with North Carolina. We've been watching them, and they have been very good, but it almost looked like they were playing above their head for a little bit. They had that stretch where they lost 3 out of 4, and then it was kind of like, okay, they're back down. But no, I mean, now they've been winning again, and their numbers say that they're definitely as good as they've been playing.
And it's surprising to see this team as good defensively, just from a historical context. North Carolina normally high-flying, run and gun, really, really good on the national scale. But, yeah, they're doing it with defense this year. Does that win yesterday against Duke make you even more confident in a potential bet on North Carolina? They're 10-1 win right now?
100%. 100%, because they've been doing very good at home. They've covered a lot of games at home, but then to go to Duke and win like that. I mean, that game wasn't even really competitive.
Same with Houston. I didn't think that Houston had the offensive juice to do what they did to Kansas against anybody, let alone one of the best teams in the country and one of the favorites to win the title.
No, I completely agree.
They smoked them. They ran them out of the gym.
And I've been watching Houston because the 3 games before that, they looked very beatable. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, somebody's going to get them here before the regular season ends. Yeah. And I thought it might be Kansas, but they showed up for that one.
When Houston has looked beatable as of late, it's been their defense that has slipped up, which is surprising to see, but they were locked down last night against Kansas. I think that those 2 games, Houston over Kansas, UNC over Duke, can really change some opinions. And I will say, Tennessee is on there. Very, very similar game, but a tighter final. Kentucky, able to go in to Knoxville, knock off the Volunteers. And because of that, Alex, I have made my first future. I've got a future on Kentucky at 18-1. Pretty good number. We'll play a game of this or that with similar enough futures. Them and Auburn both 18-1. I think with what I saw yesterday, I'm in on Kentucky.
And you're not alone, right? We've got a few. I know Sammy P really likes Kentucky, and I think Jeff has a future on Kentucky as well. So I was so close to betting them so many times. So I thought I had too many, but I mean it was very impressive. I think it was a really good spot for them because Tennessee had just clinched the regular season. But I don't want to take too much away from what the Wildcats did and what they have been doing, and that's just playing offense, playing their game, and then defense when it matters most. And they did that yesterday.
They could put up 100 against just about anybody.
Absolutely.
So we'll see if that offensive firepower reigns. But as far as teams on the outside looking in of these metrics, and again, if we could show the graphic, adjusted offensive efficiency of 112, adjusted defensive efficiency of 94 or better. There are teams on the outside looking in. Michigan State, one of them, as we mentioned, kind of teased that earlier. Michigan State, 114 in adjusted offense. That's 50th in the country. 94.3 just on the outside of that metric on defense. They are 0.3 away from making this graphic. So it's not like they're that far away. Michigan State hanging in there with the big boys. Houston, North Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State, Michigan State 100-1 right now to win the title.
Wow.
I don't know if I would bet
100-1.
that, but if you have a market where you can find them to make the Sweet 16 potentially, I would take a look.
So you said they're going to probably have FAU. Well, right now, projected
now in the
FAU, and then
bracketology,
who do they face?
It'd be the winner of Houston, South Dakota State, which I'm hoping for a lot of people's sake that it's not South Dakota State.
Yes. So that makes me nervous right there. I mean, I'm not very big on the Owls this year. They're definitely down. They did have a very good win yesterday, but I think they could definitely win that game. That second one against Houston's a little makes me a little nervous. We do have to talk about Iowa State on that list too, but we can get to it.
Just rolling down the list of teams that are right on the outside looking in, and these next two not far off at all. There were 3 teams that were just off this graphic as far as the numbers were concerned. It was Michigan State, it was Kansas, and it was San Diego State.
Wow.
And the odds on those ones 100-1, 20-1, 50-1, which is incredible because on this graphic the highest odds is Iowa State at 25-1 right now. You got a much better number, but Kansas 38th in offense, 9th in defense. San Diego State 62nd in offense, but 9th in defense as well. They are tied with Kansas right now, 94.2 on the defensive efficiency metric. I had somebody ask me the other day because I follow the Mountain West. I'm involved. Oh, you think San Diego State's going to get back to the championship game? Great team. Jaden Ledee's one of the best players, if not the best big man on the West Coast. Brian Dutcher, great coach, just got extended. All that being said, no, I don't think they get back because the Mountain West, prior to last year, had the reputation of not performing come tournament time. And I hope that they can flip that script for good as a fan of the conference in general. But this San Diego State team, I'm not buying them as a national champion contender. They're in the tournament, so that's the first step. We're talking Mountain West tournament as well. They got a really favorable draw as far as the matchup is concerned against UNLV, who needs to at least, I would say, get to the championship of that Mountain West tournament. UNLV does to claim an at-large bid. That would make it a 6-bid Mountain West, something like that. San Diego State, though, I don't think that they have another Cinderella run in them.
No, I don't either. I really don't, especially we just saw them lose 2 in a row, one of them UNLV and then Boise State at SDSU. And you just said Ledee is so good, but I think when teams can double team him and keep him inefficient, then they're in trouble. And I think we saw both teams kind of figure that out with them. So I'm very close. I still think they are top of Mountain West because, and I know that because I am a UNLV alum and fan. So that's the one team I didn't want them to have to face first next week. So that tells me that they are the best team in the Mountain West, if one of them.
I do think that they are them or Utah State. For my money, give me the Aztecs. Because right now, Utah State clinched the Mountain West Championship. Danny Sprinkle doing amazing things in his first year at the Spectrum, the Don Smith Spectrum. I think he's a National Coach of the Year. I think San Diego State's got a better roster top to bottom.
Yeah, can't really argue with that. And looking at our luck thing, Utah State was not very high at the top in the nation, but they were the top Mountain West. So a lot of things went their way this year.
Sunday's the Luck Show here on Sports by the Book. It was interesting. 3 other teams on the outside looking in of this of these metrics. All 3 of them qualify and are top 6 offensive sides, but it's the defense that precluded them, or excluded them, I should say, from this graphic. Arizona, UConn, Purdue. 6th, 2nd, and 1st in offense, but 15th, 13th, and 20th in defense. All of them short shots at under 10-1 to win the national title. I was surprised that Arizona's defense was as good as it was. Right
Me
now,
too.
they're 6th in offense, 15th in defense, and outside of yesterday have looked really, really impressive. They're 9-1 to win it all, and I think I said it Wednesday when we last hosted this show together that they are a dark horse for me to win it all.
You did, Matt, and I kind of was like, they lost twice to Washington State. But then I realized, I had been betting on them through this stretch, too, and they have been blowing teams out. Stayed away yesterday, thank goodness, because it felt like a bad spot, and it was kind of, a lot of games in a row they were covering and in good fashion. But you're right. I was very impressed by their defensive numbers as well and wasn't really expecting that. So we'll see how this team does. But I almost think that was a good loss for them right there going into this Pac-12 tournament.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
The very last Pac-12 tournament, RIP.
That's right. Here in Las Vegas.
It is interesting, too. They have the men's tournament at T-Mobile. They've got the women's tournament at the MGM Grand Garden. I think that makes sense. There is nothing worse than watching an NCAA tournament game on either the men's or the women's side at just giant venues with 1,000 people there in a 20,000 seat arena.
No, especially basketball, right? You want the fan involvement and everyone close and packed.
Right? Yeah, a little bit of atmosphere.
We're gonna have to check the numbers because when I looked at Arizona losing last night mid-game, Caleb Love was like 1 for 11. Ooh. So it is scary with them how much they do rely on him, and if he's not making his shots, then they're a little bit in trouble. But I mean. So they did clinch the 1 seed, right, in the Pac-12 as well. So, again, kind of like Tennessee, just a bad spot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost like Kentucky. I think Arizona and Kentucky profile very similarly in my mind. Teams that can go out and any given night blow anybody out of the water and put up 100 points, but on the defensive side, they're liable to have a bad matchup, like we saw with Arizona last night. We've seen it in other games with Kentucky, where teams that play really strong one-on-one man personnel, if you will, like almost like a football-style defense, so they really, really lock you down. They can cause some problems for a team like Arizona or Kentucky. And I'm pulling up this box score right here from that loss at USC last night. I will say, I think out loud to somebody yesterday, I said Arizona's going to beat USC by like 40. I couldn't have been more wrong on that one.
USC has been so inconsistent, but they are so talented as well. Like they just were not clicking. That kind of reminded me of Arkansas a little bit, right? They had all the pieces, they just weren't meshing well.
Well, they've got the next coming of the king.
Well, of course.
Well, how about quick sidebar on my man Bronny James. I don't think that the narrative in his father's mind couldn't have flipped more than he did like 2 years ago. He was saying 2 years ago when he was a senior in high school that Bronny James was on Twitter, quote unquote, better than NBA players. He said that he was better than some NBA players and he was watching him in these workouts and it fueled all this crazy speculation. And then I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago on Twitter again, he said, oh, he's just a college kid. He needs time to develop. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways, LeBron. So Bronny James, not too bad, but more just a degradation of his father on that one.
It is definitely flipped. That poor kid. Can you imagine?
Kid. Yeah, really. The other best part that I remember from Bronny James when he was in high school, he wasn't going to wear number 23 because he didn't want to have people associate him with his dad. And they're like, I can only imagine, like, yeah, he's out there wearing number 4, makes a shot. They're like, man, who is that kid? He looks really good. Caleb Love in that game, by the way, 1 of 10 from the field, 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. So just a down shooting night that led to that 78-65 loss. Want to put a bow on these metrics. There were 4 teams that I wrote them as surprises on the outside looking in, and just about all of them are there because of the defense.
Okay.
Really, really strong defensive teams. The offensive metrics maybe not up to snuff. Again, 112 plus is the offensive efficiency number that we're looking for in this category. Maryland, Villanova, St. Mary's, Mississippi State. It's a party in Starkville. It's a defensive showdown this year. Maryland, Mississippi State, the surprises for me. How about St. Mary's? 60-1 outside of Gonzaga making a big run late to win the WCC regular season title. St. Mary's has looked very good this year. They're 17th in adjusted defense in the country right now. A top 50 offense. They come into today at 48th. 114.7 is their offensive efficiency number, and they were just outside of it on the defense as far as this category is concerned. Are you buying the Gales come tournament time?
I was all in. They're not completely healthy. They've had some injuries. Joshua Jefferson was one that went down. That was a big part of their win against Gonzaga. So then I was skeptical on them beating them or sweeping them in the regular season, and Gonzaga gets that win. Looked really good. So we'll see. I mean, I think this week will tell a lot about how this team has come together and using the pieces that they have. But yeah, I mean, I think they are really good. I think they could be a sleeper, little Cinderella story going in there. I thought it might have been South Florida, but we did see them go down yesterday. So we'll see. I really think this tournament, this championship game means a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the showdown that just about everybody saw coming ahead of time. When we had Vinny on the show last week, he had mentioned that there was action on San Francisco in that conference. They had to adjust the number a little bit on both St. Mary's and obviously brought San Francisco down. For my money, though, it's Gales, it's Bulldogs or bust in that WCC with the crazy, ridiculous bracket. That's had some crazy, ridiculous games.
Yeah, it has. And that San Francisco game, I wanted to watch it last night. I think it started at 10 p.m.
That's much too late
Pacific
for you.
time. Yeah, imagine being on the East Coast. That's why I live here.
Alex goes to bed nice and early. But then we all got up today early. I was going to make a mention off the top of the show. I can't believe I forgot. We're all here. That's the big thing. We're an hour early. Daylight savings. Here we're springing forward, which is the worst of the two. I'd rather get the extra hour of sleep.
And this is a nice little tradition for you, right? It seems like every time you get booked on a Sunday to start your day, it makes you a little nervous, but we all made it.
I used to produce at a different network here at the same studio where I produced a show that started at 4 in the morning because we were based off of East Coast time. And that spring, making sure that everybody had their clocks set if you didn't use the phone alarm, and basically waking up at 2 a.m. to come into the studio. Not fun. We didn't have to get up that early today, though.
What about when you were an athlete? Do you remember? I remember we'd have practices.
Oh, yeah.
Or like an early morning workout or run.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody calling, texting everyone.
You got the roommate. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be the late one, causes everybody to run an extra mile or two.
Back in my day, when I was in high school, especially, we'd have 5 a.m. practices before school in the gym, taking ground balls with the fluorescent lighting reflecting off the floor. And yeah, that was dark days, both physically and mentally here. Want to get your thoughts as we continue to roll through these college basketball championship futures. We'll take a look at the odds here in a moment, but wanted to play a fun game. This is one that we have been teasing. We've done it before on the show, but it is versatile. This game is versatile, Alex. It is this or that college basketball championship futures. Two teams, same odds. Pretty simple, Alex. $100. If I'm handing you $100 to make a bet, you have two options. Who's it between? We'll go lowest to highest as far as the odds are concerned. We'll start off with the two shortest shots on the board to win the title. Real simple, Alex. Houston or UConn. 5-1 on both. If I'm handing you $100 of my money to make a bet, because I'm just throwing money around, who's your bet?
Wow. You said that was going to be really simple.
It's binary, one or the other.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you had Purdue in there, it would have been easy.
You'd go Purdue over both of those?
No, to go both of those over Purdue. But these two, I think, both have a really good shot. I'm going to go with Houston, though. I am a big believer in defense. They are the number one defense in the country right now, and impressive with the 12 adjusted offense efficiency.
Yeah.
So we saw them win last night by 30 over Kansas. I think they can make a big run. It is very hard to go back to back. Otherwise, my money may have been on Connecticut.
Very true. And yeah, the reason Purdue's not on there is because they did just drop from 5-1 to 6-1. They were 5-1 all week last week, and they just dropped down to 6-1. So some people agreeing with you as far as Houston, UConn, Purdue is the big three. Purdue being the odd team out as far as the odds are concerned. Yeah, if you're giving me your money, your money in this, I'm going Houston as well. Just seeing what they did last night. I mean, I bet my first future on Kentucky after seeing what they did last night. So yesterday's results for me, very, very important at the end of the year, especially with that motivation factor. You know, Houston already locking up the Big 12, which is the best conference in basketball by a long ways, in their first year in the conference too.
Yes, it's very impressive.
Impressive team, Kelvin Sampson, impressive coach. We'll make sure Sean's awake back there. Sean, Houston, UConn. Who's your pick? Our director behind the glass. Houston. He's going Houston. He's all over the Cougars, though. He loves Houston.
Are the other two too? Are we all?
We're all Houston. Okay. Squad ride. Even the Drew Dog is on Houston. All right, so yeah, I think we're all in the Cougars. Dan Hurley, every single game that UConn plays on the road, I see him in a verbal spat with a fan, telling a fan last night, "Come here, you'll get hurt." What? I mean, come on, man. First off, they can't come to you. You got cops all around you. Second off, what are you doing? You're the national champion running through the Big East, 18 wins in the conference out of 20 games, and you're telling fans to come fight you? Come on, man. All right, moving on. This one was really tough. I think out of all of these, this was probably the hardest for me to discern. North Carolina or Tennessee at 10-1, because, again, just as a quick sidebar, anything over 10-1 for me is really at this point where I start to see some value.
Yeah.
And you can really start to compare and shop odds. Like if you can get either of these, if either of these right now, let's just say one's at 10-1 and elsewhere one's at 12-1, I'm taking the 12-1 on two similar teams. That's why I like kind of grouping them like this, similarly, graded teams as far as the odds are concerned. And I think that this matchup, if these two were to play right now, would be super exciting.
It would. You're right. This would be a very good game. I would like to see this. Do you want to go first on this one, or?
I would go Tennessee.
Okay,
And
I would too.
again, we're futures odds. We just showed they're one of 5 teams in the country that has those metrics. Every team but 2000, or every team but one since 2002 has had those adjusted odds that we saw, 112 or more on offense, 94 or less on defense. Tennessee's in there. North Carolina is as well, but Tennessee is better on the defensive side. So
Which surprised me too.
I'd go Volunteers. I just think that this UNC team, not as deep as Tennessee, and Tennessee plays a faster style in the SEC overall, which I think in a one-on-one matchup could be a little bit better. I like Tennessee in this one, but it's not a huge lean either way. What do you got?
Tennessee, definitely. I'm with you. I think overall they're the more talented team, right? And they have more pieces in place. I don't really trust this North Carolina team to really make a big run. I mean, they have been impressive. They're fun to watch. Good defense as well, which, like we talked about, was surprising from the Tar Heels. But yeah, I think Tennessee is the team. I know a lot of people don't trust them postseason wise and think they may go out first game or two, but I think they could go really far.
So we got the 6th best defense in Ken Palm in North Carolina and the 3rd best defense in Tennessee, and they're actually right around each other in offense, 24th and 21st respectively.
Which is crazy, right? Because they play so different styles. So you think Tennessee is way higher in the offensive metrics. Really. I mean, they can put up 100 points just about on anyone too, like Kentucky. So it's very interesting.
So from 2 defensive-minded teams in North Carolina and Tennessee, both at 10-1, we'll go to the next one. 2 very much offensive-minded teams, both of whom are in the SEC. We've got Auburn and we've got Kentucky, both at 18-1. I will say I have to take a step back and exclude myself here because I just put that Kentucky future at these odds at 18-1. I don't hate Auburn as well, but for my money, it's Kentucky or bust in this matchup.
I don't hate Auburn either, and you know what? I hope they don't just sneak in there because no one's really talking about them, right? But I'm going to go with Kentucky as well, and it's really what we've seen them do this last stretch, 4 games or so, and like you said, they could put up 100 points any given game, and then we're starting to see them play some defense. They're just so talented. There's a lot of future NBA players on that team right now playing together, so I'm going to have to go with Kentucky.
And also, my alma mater, Appalachian State, down to Auburn in Boone, North Carolina earlier this year. So I have been not down on Auburn, but my guys at App State, better than Auburn.
It's really hard not to do that, right? That's how I felt about Creighton most of the year. I'm like, but UNLV already beat them, you know? But
so did Colorado
we've
State.
Seen them turn it around a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Creighton scheduled a tough non-con, especially coming out here to Vegas twice for some neutral site games.
Surprisingly tough, right? They weren't expecting that. They definitely underestimated those Mountain West teams.
Yeah, that was the game that Keelan Boone got activated, that judges ruling in West Virginia got all the transfers active and eligible, and Keelan Boone, who had yet to practice with UNLV, went out and dropped 30 in his first game. Crazy. But we're moving along here. Alabama and Kansas, both at 22-1. I think that these were very surprising teams, odds-wise, that they were this high up there. I think you're getting good value on either of these teams if you were to bet it. But my money would go on Kansas. I think Alabama, too offensive-minded, that for a lot of the season, the number 1 offense in the country, and no defense. Kansas obliterated by Houston yesterday, but I think that says more about Houston than it does about the Jayhawks.
This is hard. So I do have Bama, too, at 50-1 as well. Yeah.
So you got great value.
Yeah, but it's not my favorite ticket right now. Actually, neither. I'm a little nervous about all my tickets, but I'm going to go Alabama, and that's only because Kansas is depth, and we've talked about it all year long. So, I mean, it just can't get any help off the bench, and I think that's a huge thing down the stretch. I don't trust Bama much, especially when we've seen them lose at home important SEC games. But if they can go on a nice run and get their offense clicking, I think they could make it to the Sweet 16.
Nate Oates, baby, getting that offense rolling. We're rolling along here. This or that, college basketball futures. We got 2 more for you. So you've got the future on Alabama. You've got a future on Iowa State. And you got 60-1, correct?
50-1 Iowa State.
That was a while ago. That was what, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I think it was before they played Houston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which they really showed that they belonged in that conversation with Houston in that game.
Right. It was before they hosted Houston, won at home, and then, of course, lost on the road there. So, yeah, jumped in early.
So this one, Marquette or Iowa State? Again, I think that you're getting great value even still at 25-1 on both of these teams. I just am not buying Marquette. Every time they play a big-time game against a big-time nationally ranked opponent in the Big East, they get smoked. Villanova beat them pretty good. UConn obliterated them. Marquette has been highly ranked all year, and deservedly so. Really good team. They've got the extra defender on the floor in Shaka Smart. Have you seen those highlights of him coaching very aggressively?
No, what do you mean coaching?
He'll literally almost like Mike Tomlin tripping the kick returner in the corner. He's on the floor slightly, not enough for any referee to say like, hey man, back up. But he'll run up and down into the corner.
Yeah, running with them.
Kind of, yeah. And he's like a sixth defender out there. But speaking of six defenders, sometimes Iowa State plays like they have six defenders out there. They are smothering Keyshawn Gilbert, one of the best perimeter defenders in the country at point guard.
I'm nervous, though, Matt. Usually their defense will keep them in the game for long enough, and then their offense will start clicking. We've seen it slip up a little bit lately. They've really struggled offensively shooting the ball, but I would definitely still go with Iowa State. They are second best defense in the country. They right now in conference play, they're the best defense in that conference, and Houston's there. So they're very good on that side of the ball, but it will be a struggle. I don't know. Yeah, Marquette, I really can't figure out either.
Yeah.
And we've seen them be so good, and so I guess just inconsistent.
When at this time of year, so people like me, I follow it, I report on it. It's a big part of what I do this time of year is following college basketball and following these teams day to day. And especially for people like you who do your own numbers and, with what I do, you do it to the max, 10 times more research and numbers and whatever that I do. For both of us to say that we can't figure out this Marquette team, that really says something about the Golden Eagles.
Right. It does. I mean, like you said, we've just seen them win very convincingly against good teams too. But, I mean, they just lost 2 in a row to Creighton and Connecticut down the stretch. But we'll see. I mean, you never know. That's what makes March so fun.
Shaka Smart, always a good tournament coach as well. So they're a team to keep an eye on. And our last one, I mostly put these two together just because they're the same odds, and it surprised me. One is in the national championship talk because of where they ended up last year. One is not and potentially could be because of the conference that they play in and some of their matchups this year. Florida and San Diego State, both at 50-1.
This is tough. This is really tough, but we kind of just talked about, I don't know, because on that same side, it's like they were just there. They know what to do. They could turn it on with the Aztecs. Maybe they're just getting hot at the right time. Yeah, I'm going to go with SDSU.
I'm looking right now. Florida 30th in Ken Palm. San Diego State 20th. Florida's got the 16th ranked offense, but the 81st ranked defense. And San Diego State just about the opposite. They're the 9th rated defense and the 66th rated offense. So you're kind of inverse styles here. I think come tournament time, San Diego State is a much tougher matchup for a lot of teams. So, yeah, I would go with the Aztecs at 50-1. I always like grouping these odds in this way.
Yeah, it's fun. It definitely is.
Kind of gives you a shot to, compare teams that don't always get compared. And then in the, instance of Alabama, Auburn, you're kind of grouping teams with a storyline in mind. So I always have fun putting these together.
Is there any that we missed that, looking at the future board, that you are still a little intrigued by?
As far as just the championship odds in general, I'm just looking through right now. It's tough to go against Duke, who's all the way down to 20-1, even though they lost last night to North Carolina, who's 10-1. Duke's always scary come tournament time. I'm not necessarily buying it. Again, Michigan State just keeps jumping out to me at 100-1. I'm just looking up and down the board. I would take a look at Kansas. I would take a look at Arizona. As far as, maybe some outside shots. Again, my only future's on Kentucky at 18-1. You've got a couple. So you've got Iowa State.
I have Iowa State. I have Alabama. Both of those 50-1, and then I do have a BYU 60-1. That's not very pretty, but maybe I can sell them on
Prop swap.
Prop swap.
There you go. Yeah, these are really interesting this time of year.
BYU's actually done much better down the stretch, but right there, 40-1, so not great value. I got it. That one I got first, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They're a team, though, that can shoot and keep up with anybody on the right night. However, if they go cold, they are in some serious trouble because of the volume of threes that they put up.
Well, we've seen their home-away split, right, especially in conference play. They're not going to get to play every game in Provo, unfortunately.
No, certainly not.
So we'll see. But I do think with your Arizona, I do think that's looking to be the easier region. Mm-hmm. So Arizona could make a nice run there. But, I guess that depends if they're getting the 1 seed. Looks like Tennessee might be sneaking in to get that 4th 1 seed.
That 4th 1 seed is going to be uber important. And I don't think anybody really knows who's going to get it at this point. It all comes down to these conference tournaments. I love when the conference tournaments actually matter.
Yeah.
Yes, we were on the same page there. I love when these games have consequence because this week coming up is crazy enough as it is. I love just the added benefit of those matchups actually meaning something. We'll wrap things up on the show today. A look at some conference tournament games, some lower conference tournament games going on right now. You want to start with a first-round game or a championship game?
Oh, let's go championship.
We're going championship in the MVC. Probably the best tournament name in the country, Arch Madness, in the Missouri Valley Conference. They play their tournament in St. Louis. And playing for all the marbles today, a game that starts at 11 here on the West Coast. That's 8:25, 8:26 on your betting rotation. Drake and Indiana State, the Sycamores, laying 2.5 points, a total of 154. Is that similar to the numbers that you made on this game?
Very similar. It really is. And I saw -2.5 with Indiana State overnight, so a little bit money coming in with the favorite here, which I agree with because I have them 3.5. But yeah, I would look to them. They're the best offense and defense in that conference. This one's been a lot of fun, right? This tournament, we've been following the unders to overs yesterday, kind of switched it up there. No feel for the total at all. Drake does play really fast. No, I'm sorry. Indiana State plays fast, 70 possessions per game, 15.9 on the offensive side. So, yeah, I think they can control this game. These two split in the regular season. Drake won 89-78 at home, and then Indiana State won on their home court 75-67. So, two close games, the two top in the conference. So, it should be a good one.
Robbie Avila, the name to watch. My man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for Indiana State. I got a great number on this one, a great metric for you, if you want to call it that. Since 2013, Missouri Valley championship games, the favorite, 12-0 straight up and 11-0 ATS in that same stretch, or 11-0-1, I should say. There was one push in that stretch. So Indiana State is a 2.5-point favorite, trying to ride that momentum. I'm on the Sycamores strictly for that number right there. Last 12 years, the favorite has won 12 times.
Oh, well, I'm glad that my whole little spiel right there matched your number because that would have been awkward, right?
Yeah, great numbers. I'm going against it now.
We're
going Indiana State, baby.
That you missed this trend. It's like
we're all going to be wearing rec specs tomorrow for my man Robbie Avila in the Missouri Valley championship game. All right, so back to a first round game. It's one that you have a play on in the Southland. Texas A&M Commerce versus Northwestern State, the Demons. This game on the extra rotation number 306, 511, 306, 512. Pick'em, 136 the total, and you're looking under.
I am looking under. So I'm really, even if my numbers say higher and overs, I'm kind of avoiding those right now in the tournaments. They're such meaningful games. You're really going to see the best defensive performance from these teams. So I like the under here. My numbers do lean to the under. I made it 131.5. Texas A&M Lions 10-6 to the under away from home, averaging just 62 points. And then the Demons are 7-3 to the under in their last 10, and that is the Northwestern State Demons. Both these teams play relatively slow and take their time, especially offensively. So that's good when they match up their styles, and they're both just going to take their time going down the court.
Two more games, and we'll get out of here for the day. It's another one as far as a trend, recent history. We're looking at Towson, UNC Wilmington, 8:19, 8:20. That game starting at 11:30 in Washington, D.C., where the Coastal Athletic Association tournament, they changed that this year.
I know. It's thrown me off a couple
I did a UNLV game when they took on Hofstra earlier in the year, who's in that conference. And it wasn't until about 10 minutes before we took the air that anybody realized that they had switched from the Colonial Athletic Association to the Coastal Athletic Association. Conveniently kept the same logo.
I know.
So that's,
right?
That's nice when you can just keep that same logo. But Wilmington, the Seahawks laying 2.5 in this game. And in the last 10 years of the CAA tournament, favorites of 2.5 to 3.5 points, short shots, 18-0 straight up, 17-0-1 ATS. So I'm going to ride the Lightning and go with the Seahawks again. UNC Wilmington laying the 2.5. I'm going to hope that number stays true. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
So I actually wrote down here NC Wilmington money line. I thought that number was pretty close to the correct number, but I do think that is the right side. I was just going to lay the points or find a dance partner for it. Maybe do a little two-teamer. Maybe I can do that. Yeah.
There's our two.
Yep.
Indiana
Perfect.
State and UNC Wilmington.
But
I'll lay that. I'll lay that when we get off the air.
Perfect. And I like it too. And once you said that about the ATS, that makes sense. I think they can cover this number.
Tip of the cap to Steve Makinen for those numbers. All right, Alex, last game. We're going to end with my alma mater, Appalachian State,
right,
in the Sun Belt semifinals, surviving in overtime against Georgia's Southern, their biggest rival yesterday in the quarterfinals, 85-80 in overtime. They take on Arkansas State today in that Sun Belt tournament, laying the 5, 144.5, and that's where my eyes went to immediately in this matchup. App State, one of the best defenses in the country, one of the best perimeter defenses legit in the country, top 5 pairing of big men. They lead the nation in blocks. I like under with the Mountaineers.
I don't mind it at all. My number has this a little bit under that number. Not much, though, that I made it a play. But you're right. Both of them good on defense. App State 29th adjusted on KenPom. And both of them relatively slower pace. So I don't know much about this matchup. I didn't dive too deep into it. Both of my numbers were close. But, yeah, it's a good lean for me.
Dustin Kearns, Appalachian State head coach, has them taking the stairs. That's their motto, take the stairs. After every game they win, Alex, he tweets the same picture of just a set of stairs and nothing else. No context, just take the stairs. You got any other games you want to take a look at before we get out of here?
That's it for me today.
That is about it. Jam-packed show as we fly through the last day of the regular season of college basketball. How about it?
I can't believe it.
Crazy stuff. Selection
7
Sunday,
days.
a week from today. College tournaments abound nationwide and especially here in Las Vegas. This week as we get ready for the NCAA tournament. Crazy that the season flew by so fast.
We'll both be back tomorrow.
Yep.
And you're actually working a tournament here in town, right?
Yep, I'll be working the Big West tournament on both the radio and TV side. I'll be at Mountain West maybe one or two of the days before it starts. But yeah, jam-packed week. We got Denny Nagel in studio all week with Frank Nicotero. I'll be producing that show Monday, Tuesday. Hosting Sports by the Book Monday, Tuesday as well before I take off for the rest of the week. Jeff Parles returns on Wednesday. That'll do it for us.
Yep.
For everybody behind the glass, Kate and Sean, and the Drew Dog, and my lovely partner, Alex White, I'm Matt Neverett saying thanks for tuning in. Back at it tomorrow. South Point Studio returns with Frank Nicotero and Punchlines at noon tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and enjoy the betting Sunday around college basketball.